Here it is, the Bakotunes podcast with mattomunoz. Audio brought to you by Chain Cone Styles.
Greetings once again, Bakotunes listeners. On this episode, we'll be checking in with none other than Luis Correa, owner of Steady Beat Recordings in San Pedro, California. Now, if you're one of the thousands of ska crazy music fans of the 90s all over Southern California, both Luis and or the Steady Beat Recordings name should ring a bell, especially if you follow the fiercely traditional and Latin-infused ska music scenes happening all over Los Angeles. There was bands, there was music, fashion, attitude, dancing, skanking, the occasional skinhead boot party, but most of all, an unwavering respect for the real roots of Jamaican music and its ska foundations. And of course, lots of fanzines. It was also an era and scene that my band Mento Brew and I were welcomed into, and a place where many lasting friendships were made. We also released music on the Steady Beat label through compilations like the legendary Ska-Authentic West Coast Ska compilation and more. Over time, Luis and Steady Beat haven't always received the respect they deserve as the history of Los Angeles music has been documented. So we're here to set some records straight, among other things, and even if you're unfamiliar with some of what I speak of, I'm sure you'll enjoy the stories and the music. So, go grab some Bass, Guinness, or Modelo, and get ready to take a trip back to the cool days of Steady Beat on the Bakotunes podcast. Hey, Luis, how's it going?
It's going good, Matt.
Where are you at this moment?
At this moment, I'm at home.
And where is home?
I'm home in San Pedro, California, and I'm walking inside because I just had to go out and close the back gate.
I've always been kind of confused from where your home base is, because I remember back in the old Steady Beat days, it would say Wilmington, California. And then sometimes you would say, I'm in San Pedro. I'm in Bakersfield, so I don't know a lot about that. When I think of San Pedro, the first thing I think about is the Minutemen.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, here in San Pedro and Wilmington is like the next town over, and they're only maybe about 10 minutes away.
So you just kind of just bounce back and forth.
Well, my mom lived in Wilmington, and then I was raised in San Pedro up until like I was 7. Moved to Wilmington, and then up until like I was in my mid-20s, and then moved back to San Pedro. So when I started Steady Beat, I was in Wilmington, and that was my home base. And then a few years later, I moved to San Pedro, and then I've been here ever since. So I've been bouncing. Yeah, it's like that. But it's, it's like, 5 minutes away.
San Pedro, there's obviously the water is nearby. I mean, is it the same thing as Wilmington, or is Wilmington more in?
Wilmington's, more inward. Wilmington's more like I would say not even a port, because they have they have a marina there, but it's more of an industrial type place. If San Pedro was a place where the ships came and docked and deliver the goods and so forth, Wilmington is a place where they took the ships to get them fixed. I lived literally like about 4 blocks from the docks. In Wilmington, you'd go down there and hang out, but there's not much to do. You take the bus down to the beach and hang out at Cabrillo Beach for the summer and stuff. But most of the time I didn't have that kind of time, because remember, I had immigrant parents, and they're like, "Do you want to hang out on summer? No, you're working, kid."
What did they make you do in the summer?
During the summer, well, I think up until like I was in 4th or 5th grade. Yeah, up until like 4th grade, I was just like doing nothing, whatever. But in 5th grade, I remember my dad's like, no, he started this business of wrought iron. He was doing wrought iron for windows and doors and stuff, and I would be his helper. I mean, summer came and everyone would be going to summer school and so forth. I'd be helping my dad, either welding or bending some wrought iron or doing some kind of anything.
Dang.
You name it, I did it. And I remember taking a break because hey, listen, I got to go to the school because they're giving out free lunches right now. It's summer. I go to the school looking all dirty, getting a free lunch. Okay, and I'm out of here. I'm back to work.
Dang. So, I mean, you're doing ironwork as a kid. Were you doing any welding?
Yeah, I was doing welding, and then I was doing, one of my dad's guys who used to make the filigrees, the little designs.
Yeah.
He taught me how to do that. And then I started doing that. And there's a little form, you put it in there, use a hammer, you pull, you push, and then you bend that steel. And bam, you get it done, bro. It was interesting.
Dang, Luis Correa, all these secrets that as long as I've known you, I had no idea. But, we all have these
A lot of
origins.
people don't know that about me, man.
That's pretty amazing. That's pretty amazing. I mean, like a working class family, working class immigrant family. That's a great story.
He worked he was a welder. My mom worked at the fish canneries in San Pedro, and she worked at Pan Pacific Fish Cannery where they did all kinds of packing for all kinds of fish.
Now, was it just you, or do you have any other siblings?
Oh, I had a bunch of siblings. I still do. I have 3 brothers and 4 sisters.
Are everybody still around, and where are you on the totem pole?
I'm like right in the middle. My oldest brother Juan, then Victor, then Nora, then Araceli, then me, and then it's Melda, Alvaro, and Eunice.
And does everybody still live in that area?
Yeah, except Victor and Juan.
They're tired of that Wilmington life.
Yeah,
Yeah, everybody, we're nomadic. We're nomadic people.
People want to move. They're like, I see everything I can see here.
We have so much to talk about. Full disclosure, I've known Luis for coming up about 25, 26 years, Steady Beat recordings. I think
it's more like 29 years.
Yeah, actually, yes, most definitely. About 29 years. And I was trying...
I was like, I think around 93 I started the label. And I'm thinking, how long is that? That's like... It's going to be 30 years next year.
I was looking through some old papers and trying to find out like how actually like we connected, because this is pre-internet. I got my band over here in Bakersfield. You have your scene barely starting to kind of bubble up in Los Angeles. And I don't even remember how we got connected. It's like once the connection started, we did our first show with Steady Beat recordings over at the Hong Kong Low in Chinatown in 1994.
Actually, it was not Steady Beat. It was Blackpool.
The Blackpool.
It wasn't Steady Beat until like 95. Around 95, that's when Ray kind of dropped out, and then I'm like, okay, then I'll just call it Steady Beat since we're not a partner anymore. And that's when it was. But it was called Blackpool. We did shows under the Blackpool name up until 95. And the Hong Kong shows, we started in 93 and went all the way to 94.
That's wild.
So you did a show, and I remember you hit me up somehow. Either you hit me up because somebody, or you called me, and I'm like, a band from Bakersfield. I'm like, why not? Okay. And you're selling me. I'm like, yeah, we got that Latin thing, and we're this. And I was trying to, back in my head, I was thinking, yeah, man, but this is a little different. And once you came here, you kind of found out, huh? It was like, oh man, it's a little different.
Yeah, it was because up until that
you're
point,
trying to sell me on the the Latinos are gonna like us. I was like, no, that's not what we're going for here, bro.
No, definitely, because up until that point, the shows that I had been going to were like at the Reseda Country Club, and that was kind of like my baptism by fire. You kind of have that 80s, so you go through the Fishbone, the two-tone to the Fishbone, into the present of that early 90s, and then you start discovering like these smaller bands, Let's Go Bowling, Skeletones, Gangbusters, all these other kind of bands from around the area. And it's like I felt so far removed from all that, which we were. Everybody's so used to the internet, everything's at your fingertips. But back then, you either had to get like a copy of the LA Weekly or just know somebody or even care.
Zine. Pick up a zine. The zine is the way people kind of found out, and those zines were regional. Like you had a zine from San Francisco who covered a lot of San Francisco and some of LA, but that's as far as they went. But you knew everything in San Francisco.
Yeah.
You pick up a zine from San Francisco and in Bakersfield, you're like, hey, I know exactly what's happening out there.
Yeah, you would hold on to that until it got all todo rotten and everything, fingerprints all bent up, because you never knew when you were going to get another copy of that thing. Like if you went to some art gallery or some record store someplace, you just kind of ended up and you're like, oh, there's checkers on it. Okay, it's ska. At that time, it was all hardcore into it and all that stuff. Okay, so now what was your entry into it? The ska thing has always kind of been around, early 80s. It kind of started with the Untouchables for a lot of people, but what was your entry into it?
Well, in junior high, I was exposed to Madness, the whole two-tone thing.
Of course.
I was exposed to, specials, all of that stuff, right? And then, then like right after that kind of died out, and all of a sudden everyone's was rockabilly because the Stray Cats were real popular, right?
Were you?
Not really. But, that's kind of what you started hearing on the radio a lot, Oh, so this is what's in now, right? And then, so that was it until like when I was, I think, early 90s. 90. I think it was 1991 when my friend Robert said, hey, man, I want you to meet my friend Ray, because Ray, he's into ska and he wants to do some shows. And I had been a DJ. I DJ'd, backyard parties,
Mm-hmm.
like all these they're like high school backyard parties that people charge. You get $5 a
Of
beer in the
course.
back or whatever.
One
And it
cup
was
and
all
fill it up all you
disco
can.
and
Yeah.
funk and all that stuff, all that the stuff that's right now like backyard boogie. That
Yeah.
was what we
Zap.
did.
Were you doing playing Zap and Cover Girls
Exactly.
and all that? Stevie B.
Rick James,
Yeah.
all
All
that, dude.
right. All right.
So, and then, but that was like, to me, they were like, oh, that's another life. I did all that already. I was already older. I was in my 20s, and he hit me up. I said, but you know what? We could get something going. Let me meet him. Let me see what's up. And then he's like, yeah, I just want to do parties. And he told me that you did parties, so make a flyer and all that. I'm like, oh, okay, let's put this whole show together. And then I said, but first, I need to know what kind of music you're talking about. You said ska, but I'm thinking specials, madness. He goes, oh, no. It's like, like Operation Ivy and the Busters and the Toasters. It's like third wave. I'm like, what? I'm like, what? I'm like, he was like, bands like, the Israelites, Specs, Los Federales, Orange Street. I'm like, what?
Oh wow! So it was completely new to you too.
Yeah, man. I was like, this is another world. Because at that moment in time, I was into like Prince, I was
Yeah, like
into
a
that
lot of us
vibe.
were. I mean, so was I. Yeah, it was like
Yeah,
Okay.
that was the thing. And then, but then he's hitting me with all this stuff, and I'm like, oh, dude, well, let's find out. So I said, before I get into it, I want to go see a band. I want to go check one out, right? So we're gonna go check out a band in they're practicing. It was Orange Street. It was like in some orange field or something. Went out there, checked them out. I'm like, okay, I can feel it. I can feel this vibe, all right? Cool, man, cool. And I said, listen, but I'd like to see a real show. Let's go to a show.
Yeah.
Let's go. And he's like, oh yeah, there's a show, this backyard in Southgate, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, all right, cool. So we went there. And I forgot. I think it was a Specs and some other band. I don't remember who it was.
And the Specs are
But I
from
remember.
Oxnard? Oxnard or
No, the Specs are from like out here, Riverside.
They are? The Specs are?
Yeah, either Riverside or out here, man.
Oh, okay. No, you know what? Because fast forward, I ended up running. One of the singers from the Specs was living in Santa Barbara, and we crossed paths. And then I get him confused with the Upbeat, but that's another story. Okay, back to the story.
Okay. um,
One of those ska names.
And that's why I didn't know who it was, because we were standing there with our own little BYOB beer and stuff, and I was looking at them. I'm like, man, you can't see anybody, because they were on flat ground. They were not on the stage or anything, because it was backyard. And I'm like, yeah. After that, me and Ray talked. I said, Ray, you know what we need? We need a stage, man. If we can get a stage built or put a stage, it'd be better. Because why? You'd have a better show, because everyone would be able to see the band. Right now, half the people couldn't see the band, man, because all the people were crowding it. And they're like in the front, like, And he's like, So we built the stage, and I said, we can have the party at my mom's house. We did it. That was the first night, the first show I remember. And him and Gabriel put the flyer together, all cut and paste.
Of course,
with
go
the
to
map
Kinko's and
everything. Yeah, man. Yeah, Kinko's. No, it was Mr. Speedy or some other place. It was not. And then boom, and I said, okay, cool, and we did it. And then I DJ'd that day. Well, I was like, I'll DJ all the ska I got, whatever. And then
what did you have up to that point to spin?
Oh man, I had it's basically two-tone stuff.
You just like
Two-tone
specials
and
1, 2,
reggae.
and madness.
I had some reggae
yeah.
too. I had some reggae and two tones. I had UB40. I remember I busted that.
Oh man, you didn't play like red wine or something like that.
Yeah, there was all. I mean, it was just like, hey, whatever I have, you're gonna get.
Classic. But there's a lot of classic stuff. All right.
And we're selling like $5 for a cup. Once you get a full cup of beer, and you can have as many as you want until the beer was over. And then the beer was over, because during that time I was going to college, and my friend knew about the party. He goes, can I go down there and record it? I'm like, cool. So he came down and recorded it. John Martinez. He came down and recorded it with Jason. And they both were there like tripping out, like, this is backyard in Wilmington. What the fuck's going on here? They recorded it, and that ended up being on part of the Scampalation Volume 1 cassette, where the guy from Orange Street is on stage like, okay, sorry, we can't help it, but there's no more beer. It's not our fault. It's not our fault, et cetera, et cetera. And we're going to go out with the show, et cetera. So we did that show, and that's how it kind of started.
What year was that?
That was 1992.
Okay, so 1992. He records that show, and how long did he sit on it till you released it? Because it was under still the Blackpool label.
I'm going to say 1990. Well, it was released that year, but I don't know. It was released in 93. It was 93.
That's impressive. You decide, well, I'm going to start doing all this stuff. So you throw the show, you build the stage, you get everything going, you have it recorded, and then you're like, okay, we're going to release this. Where do you start to get something like that even released?
No, it wasn't. It didn't even start like that.
Okay.
You know, the guys who recorded it because we were all in the same sound engineering class, and they wanted to record it to see the sound quality, etc. Their recording technique.
Yeah.
You know?
Where were you going to school at? You just said sound engineering school.
L.A. Harvard.
Okay. L.A. Harbor. L.A. Harvard.
LA Harbor. I was going to Harvard.
Okay.
Anyways, so yeah, and they were recording for that and so forth. So they sat on it. They said, you know, and I remember going to his house and picking it up because, like, after a while, I thought about it because we did another show. We recorded it too, but it didn't turn out well. And then we did another show and recorded it too, and it didn't click to me until we started doing shows at the Hong Kong Cafe.
How did you get hooked up there? Because the Hong Kong Cafe, if you saw the decline of Western civilization, that was a lot of people's, you know, for the punk bands, that's the first thing you think of is like, oh, we're here at the Hong Kong. Let's go to the Hong Kong, the Circle Jerk song, all that stuff. And so how did you get hooked up with that?
I mentioned those two guys that came to the first show and recorded the show. One of those guys started working at KPFK, who became friends with your buddy,
Eric.
the guy from Luna Park.
Oh my gosh, Luna! I was thinking Eric, Jean-Pierre.
No.
Oh,
No,
Michael Sanchez.
Michael Sanchez.
Oh my
Right.
gosh.
They worked together at the studio. He was an engineer together, whatever. Anyways, because he was at KPFK as well. So anyways, he went down there, but the other guy, Jason, he became like a punk promoter, like, you know, around town and stuff. And he hit me up. He goes, hey, listen, there's a club in Chinatown that they're renting out. It's called the Hong Kong Cafe. It's for like $100. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, it's all ages. It's all ages and I have a full bar. I said, what? I said, Ray, let's go downtown and meet this guy. So we met that guy, and Mr. Hong was like very nice dressed guy, dude, nice, you know.
Really?
And we were cool, and we talked, and we discussed. He was like, yeah, $100, simple. Just bring your security and bring your sound. I'm like, what? All right, bro, it's on. So we started doing that, and he liked the music. It seemed like he liked it because it was like old school style, right? And this guy's an old school dude. And then he liked it, and he's like, do another one. And we kept, and that's how we started. And then he's like, if you want to use it for other stuff, other stuff. And then I started doing like indie shoegazer stuff. But at the same time, the rock en español scene was blowing up too.
Oh yeah. Well, hold on a second, because you've just my mind is going a million miles an hour. What was the first lineup that you had there at the Hong Kong?
Oh, that was King Willie, Bakotunes, the Israelites, and 6 Feet Deep.
Wow, those are two different scenes right there. Because you guys remember the Israelites were kind of like they were doing like a little bit of a holy ska. I remember that, a little inspirational. Yeah.
No, there were two completely different scenes, and we learned real quick. Like, oh, we can't mix these up because we got some guys that are skanking around all the time, and we got some guys who are ready to, like, boot these guys.
Yeah. So you had the skinhead scene, and then you have like because the third wave is starting to pop up, and see like the kind of the skater dudes, and that Bakotunes is one of those bands.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons that I personally, like, Ray, we got to just stick to this, and that's kind of what I think why the traditional scene kind of blew up in LA, because I was full blown on it. I'm like, this is what I got to do. I'm not going to stick with any of that other stuff. Then later on, Daryl came around. He goes, hey, man, let's do the ska punk. I said, perfect. You go ahead and handle that shit. I'll go ahead and handle all this stuff and just do what you got to do. Be happy in doing what you're doing.
Well, what drew you to stick to more of the traditional stuff as opposed to the punk and the ska and everything?
It identified more with my Latin roots.
Okay.
That's all I could say.
Yeah, okay. I got that.
You know,
I got that.
It identified more with me with the Latin roots at the time, and I'm like, if I have a choice, I'm gonna do this because no one's doing this, and I like what doing, and let me keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah. And
So
meanwhile,
yeah.
at the time that you're starting to build this up, like, I mean, were you aware of everything that was going on in Orange County and everything,
Oh
further
yeah,
south?
I mean, at that point, yeah, Sublime was blowing up. No Doubt was blowing up. I ended up booking Sublime because of Jason's punk roots. He knew them because he had worked with them when they were like, working, doing backyard parties or whatever. And we're doing Las Palmas Theater at the time. And this
Yeah.
was like we I jumped from Hong Kong Cafe to Las Palmas Theater. Well, I did a bunch of different venues in between. Then I went to Las Palmas Theater, and that's like where I was doing a bunch of shows with Jason. Me and Jason did a lot of shows there, and then one of the sound guys at the Las Palmas Theater was a booker at the Whiskey.
Hmm.
And he one night he's like, dude, you'd sell out the Whiskey if you can do that with this show here in all ages. I'm like, really? And yeah, come on down, let's talk to them. And I went down there, and he vouched for me, like, yeah, man, he don't need to leave a deposit. I seen what he's done.
Wow.
I see what he's done. He would do great. And then boom, I'm at the Whiskey, and then I'm selling that place out. And then boom, I'm at the Roxy, and then I'm at the Troubadour, and I'm at BB King's. I'm everywhere, dude. It was
Gosh,
nuts.
like, okay, so who were the core bands of the scene, of the LA scene, that you were booking at the time?
Oh man, that was Mobtown,
Hmm.
Yeska, the Allentons. Let's see, yeah, those three, NC Spot.
Hmm.
Those were the workhorses of the scene. The
And
ones that
what parts of LA were those bands mainly from?
Allentons would Southeast LA
Hmm.
and East LA. Yeska, same situation. Montebello, East LA area, Southeast LA, and C Spot. They were a little bit of everywhere. They're like LA, Pasadena, OC. I think. Yeah, there's some OC guys there and there. And Mobtown was also, they had some LA guys. They had
Hmm.
some, but they're based out of Lake Downey. So it was
Yeah.
all
Oh,
like
that's right. They were from
Southeast
Downey.
LA.
I remember the first time that
Chica Rivera, that pair.
Oh yeah, and see, us being from Bakersfield at the time, like we're just trying to where could all these bands? I mean, they obviously figure out how to just jump on the freeway and find their way in. And as time went on, I started to find out that a lot of the musicians may have kind of been from different areas in LA, but somehow they found their way together to be at these shows. But when you're talking about some of these ska bands at the time, there's just 8 or 10 to 11 to 12 piece bands up there,
Oh,
and so
Israelites, another one. Soulfuls. I mean,
yeah.
there's a lot of them that but for the most part, the ones that I mentioned earlier, they're like the ones always. And
Mm-hmm.
Israelites, I remember them too. Always playing dynamics. They were in that
Mm-hmm.
mix for a while too. I mean, basically the stuff. I mean, the bands that I've
Yeah.
worked with, and those are the guys and that were just constantly. It was weird, playing once a week or twice a week, but different lineups,
Oh
different
yeah.
clubs.
Oh yeah. No,
I'd see the
totally.
flyers. I'm like, I remember this, and I had to do this. And someone said, I could, we can, let's do the same show. I said, no, you can't do the same show
Yeah.
a night later. Let me change up a band or two, bro. What's
Yeah.
up?
I remember doing the shows. Like I've seen some of the flyers pop up, like the flashback on some of the ska groups on Facebook and stuff. And in some of the shows, I'll see our name on there. And I was like, gosh, I don't even remember doing these shows, because it seems like we would just spend half the time on the road, and we would get to, someplace in I don't even. Well, I remember doing San Pedro. We did a Desmond Decker, but some of the other venues that you would end up booking us with, a lot of these great bands, I don't remember, because it's like we'd show up and it was just like you figured out a way to streamline to get all these bands that had a minimum of at least 6 to 8 members in each. They say the joke, if there's more people on the stage than in the audience. That was not true, and that was just sometimes. That was not the true in the case when those first at least good 5 years that we were going to do the Steady Beat shows.
Oh, yes.
It was packed. I mean, it was packed over there. It was very indie. You're talking about the third wave scene was coming up. Radio, K-Rock had latched onto it, and No Doubt and Boss Tones. Bands that had been working.
Goldfinger.
Oh yeah. Which to me,
was what the fuck, dude?
yeah, which to me, Goldfinger was like, okay, hold on. Now these guys are kind of just jumping this train. When No Doubt,
It's formulated. They're totally formulated now.
oh
at
yeah,
that point,
yeah. When No
What's the
Doubt,
formula? Let's have a name that has something to do with this, and let's go.
oh yeah, and I think they may have been. Oh, well, they were there on Mojo Records or something. It was one of those Interscope. I don't know, whatever. But anyway, so you started seeing those bands that were getting their due. So you got Boss Tones are finally getting some airplay. No Doubt are working it. but then you had your scene over there in LA, and that's where we were in. That's where we got to soak it up and see everything. And yeah, it was definitely a learning experience for us because unless, now with the internet, everybody knows how it is. But at that time, unless you're in it, then you got to know, no, there's definitely a difference between the ska that this scene likes and the ska that Orange County likes, third wave, ska punk, this. I mean, there was different type of genres and subgenres and everything like that. But the thing about it is because we're coming from Bakersfield and none of us had suits. We didn't have any suits on. So, but the main thing, we look like the third wave ska guys, with our freaking old torn up Bermuda shirt. Exactly. Bermuda shorts and, chanclas and stuff like that, because we had driven, just driven 3 hours. And I would talk these guys, we got to go do this show. And we had a great time. You always took care of us. But we made friends with most of these bands. Wally from Mobtown, Dave from Yeska, Yuli from Yeska, John Roy, and everybody was always, they fit the ska look. They had the suit, or they had like some sort of vintage clothing. And here we are with our t-shirts and our chanclas and Vans.
your checkered Vans.
Oh yeah, of course. That was as ska as it got. But I mean, it was just a great time, because we were definitely none of us were skinheads, of course. So we weren't trying to claim any of that type of musical politicking. We were just about the music.
Ain't that right? Oh yeah, ain't that
right? And so we learned so much by hanging out with all those, and even today in 2022. A lot of those musicians are still, if not keeping those bands together, like we're keeping, I'm keeping Mento together here in Bakersfield, but they've gone on to huge things. Dave Urquidi, sax player from Yeska, I mean, he started as just kind of as an advanced musician, and now he's like a full-on pro. He's toured with Poncho Sanchez, he's played with War, he's doing all kinds of stuff. And Yuli with Ozomali. I mean, that's a whole other story, man. But I mean, it all started with Steady Beat, man. How does it feel to be one of those individuals that kind of gave everybody their start?
I don't know, man. I was just doing what I felt right, that's all. And now I'm like, hey, I'm glad if I had anything to do with it, hey, thank you. You're welcome,
Oh, come on. You're being too humble. You ever listen to the first Ozomatli album and you go, yeah, man, if it all started with Steady Beat. No, I know you're not like that.
You know what I do have? I have a poster that I unearthed. I have a poster from Ozomatli and Yeska when they played with, I guess, members of Oingo Boingo's band, ex-Oingo Boingo or something, Johnny Vatos or something.
Yeah.
And something else down in Rosarito. Both bands are like, this is the first international show we've ever done. This is the first time went out of the country to do an international show.
Really?
And yeah, it was a surf festival. I think it was a surf festival in Rosarito. And it's some resort or something, or a rock. I don't know what it was. But they had it all. It was nice. Everything was cool. But it just not a lot of people showed up.
Okay.
But it was okay though. It was whatever.
Well, that was probably in one of those years where like there was kind of a lull between like the music that people were listening to, because if you think about like when when those kind of big days of all the traditional ska scene in LA and everybody was enjoying those kind of successes of pack shows and being able to do the Whiskey and the Roxy. I remember one of the big moments of that time period was when Let's Go Bowling sold out the Whiskey A Go Go, and that was huge. And at that time, Let's Go Bowling were they were just kind of one of the golden bands of the whole area. And they straddled between the traditional and the third wave, right? When you're talking about these bands that are like so far, I mean, because Let's Go Bowling's from Fresno. How do you even discover bands like that?
Oh, man. You meet all these fans, you meet all these different people, right? And one guy that I met was my cousin. I'm like, oh, he was my cousin. I'm like, yeah, my dad's your mom's cousin. And then I went back like, it's true. So me and him started getting on real cool, whatever. And he would like tell me, hey, you got to do this. This is the band that's tight. He was a skinhead too, and he like, this is what you got to do. And I'm like, really? I guess so. Boom. And I take his advice and just run with it. Ray actually had mentioned Let's Go Bowling. He already knew about Let's Go Bowling from way back, from the shows that he's gone to from prior, and he's like, that's one of the bands we should book. And I'm like, dude, they probably want a lot of money. This is when we're doing like, $150 bands, $100.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, later. And then it just didn't happen until later when it wasn't even Ray. Ray wasn't even with me at the time. It was just me and Jason at Las Palmas Theater. And when we booked them, it was them, Hepcat, Jumpin' Joey, Yeska, The Dynamics, I believe.
All excellent bands too.
It was wild. And then after that, every show was kind of like that, It was like, wow, wow, wow. And then boom, before you know, I'm at the Whiskey doing shows like that too. It's great.
Did you ever get hit up, even at the height of all that? Did you ever get hit up by the majors to see if were they trying to steal bands, or kind of look to you to be one of their A&R guys in that kind of third wave thing that was going on?
I don't know. One time I was doing a show over at the Whiskey, and Paul Tillett was over at the Roxy.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to meet with me. I guess he wanted to meet me, and we just chatted for a while.
And Paul Tillett is from Live Nation?
Golden Voice.
Golden Voice,
Golden
I'm sorry.
Voice, right?
Yeah. Yes.
He wanted to meet me, chat, and I think that's when he started the label. Golden Voice did start a label, right? And they signed the Aquabats. And he mentioned something like that, and we just bullshit around a lot. I mean, not a lot, but about bullshit like that. And I'm like, cool, man. And then I got to get back to the show and stuff. I don't know if something else was going to come out of that, but that was about it.
You think they had a lot of people kind of watching in the audience to see if there was something else that they can?
Well, I mean, come on. When you see a guy coming in to the Whiskey selling it out, you get out, and you've been doing that all that time. You're like, well, who's this guy? Let me find out who he is. At least meet him,
Yeah.
And yeah, that's cool. I was like, hey, right on.
Because when you started hearing like ska on the radio, it obviously wasn't a steady beat sound that was going on. It wasn't like you're not going to hear like a Latin ska or anything like that. But did you ever think that it might possibly happen? And if it was, who would have been the band that would kind of have broken through to be on the radio and enjoyed that kind of K-rockish success, I guess I could say?
Well, that would probably been like Ozomatli. Probably in that sense, but they don't play that type of ska.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to,
it's the connection. You hear the connection.
Exactly, the connection. However, any band that would have done it would have been Hepcat.
Mm-hmm.
Would have been Hepcat that would have because they have enough good songs that stand for themselves. You know what I'm saying? Originals. That's
I don't think there's one thing with Hepcat, man, is that I don't think they've written one bad song. Every song is good. You listen to those Hepcat records, and it's like from the beginning to the end, they're always good.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
pretty sure they don't. They're not just writing them fillers. They're like carefully crafted tunes.
Yeah, we're only going to put out I am curious. Is is there a bunch of secret stuff? Because I remember that one time, and you gave me a tape.
Break time. We'll be back. It's the Bakotunes podcast with Matt Munoz.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening right now, I had to cut out a certain part from the interview for legal reasons and to save Luis's ass, but that's because we're homies, and I'm going to do that for him. So, okay, let's move on.
When you were mentioning it, I'm like, what tape did I give him? What tape did I give him? And then you kept saying, like, oh, shit, is that tape? No, you can't.
Yeah. Okay, so around this time, you're doing Steady Beat. You're doing the releases, but you're releasing, you go from cassette, you go to 7 inches, colored, and a cool colored vinyl, which I still have, the Mento one that you made with us and C-Spot, and I think it's just...
It was it was you, C-Spot, and Los Hooligans.
Yeah, and Los Hooligans. Very, very cool. People every time I post, everyone's like, where can we get those things? Can people still buy those?
Online on probably Discogs, and that's about it.
Really?
That's it, because they've been out of print. I don't have any more. I do have some test pressings and such, but those are archival.
Yeah, yeah. You don't want to get those out. Okay, so now let me ask you this: what is it up with Latinos and ska music, traditional ska music? Like, what do you think that drew Latinos so much into that scene? Because when you think about third wave ska, you think of, and no offense to my Weddle brothers out there, but you think of kind of nerdy white guys jumping around all over the stage. But when it came to like the traditional ska scene that you were cultivating and nurturing there, everybody was dressed up. Everybody had some style. They're drawn on sounds and styles from the past, from classic eras. So it was like Kingston meets the the New York Palladium 1940s, like Jamaica versus meets the mambo and all that stuff. So what do you think? A little bit of Pachucoism in there, little bit of Pachuco style in there. Where did all that come from? Because you were right in the middle of it.
Well, a lot of that is basically emulating the Jamaican rude boy. They're dressing like rude boys, nice pressed shirts, suits, looking sharp, and that's basically what the scene or the guys in the scene were emulating, and that's basically it. Now, in regards to like Latinos, obviously Latinos always like to dress sharp, and that goes hand in hand with the music they like. Now, LA is full of Latinos.
No,
there's a lot of them.
Yes.
There's a lot of them.
Oh, yes.
You look everywhere. There's everywhere. You look in the corners, they're everywhere. And the bands that I worked with, all of them were predominantly Latinos, except for C-Spot.
Mm-hmm.
We had this big, strange, cool, captivating, kind of crazy sort of fly.
Don't get it mixed up. This is a stick up.
I work at the bank, now let's take them for at least 100 grand.
But all of them were. Now, the people that came to see them were also Latinos, people from their schools, people from wherever. But you look at the crowd, and they're all Latinos, like, and you could
Mostly
tell, like,
Latinos,
wow.
but you saw some mixes
mostly
in there.
Latinos. Yeah, and you could tell, like, okay, this is a very predominantly Hispanic crowd, right? And then you ask yourself, why? Why do they listen or are they drawn to this type of music and style? And if you look at the way they're dressed and so forth, it's basically it kind of gives it the whole, the whole Chicano aesthetic.
Yeah.
They have, if you look at like 60s Jamaica, they're just basically like, cholos.
Yeah, they did kind of like if you looked at pictures from Jamaica from the 60s, and then you went from
It's
pictures,
just the dress, the way they dress, right?
Yeah, the way they dress, and
like,
the Cuban,
dress.
and of course, like the Cuban Jamaican connection right there. So obviously they're kind of bouncing sounds off each other. But but here in the States though, and we're talking about a good 50 years later, these young Chicanos are picking up on that sound, and then the style. It's just like it just adds another cool layer to being Latino in Southern California, right? I mean.
I think I think what it boils down to, and here's what I think, is someone in high school, someone real cool in high school was into that maybe other people said, let me get into that too, because a lot of the shows I did were all ages. A lot of people there were 16, 17, 18, 19, and
wearing their grandpa's suits and stuff, right?
Yeah, and basically, at a very impressionable age, if you go out to one of these shows, you look around, you're like, wow, this is cool music, and look, everyone's dressed nice. I like this. Let me go down a rabbit hole, and get more into that, and then you have another fan, and then before you know, you have another one. Before you know it, they're all coming to shows all together, and one, mom's dropping them off all together, and that's kind of how it starts, man.
And I remember
that cycle happens for like 5 years, and then it starts all over again.
Oh yeah, and okay, so this is going on, and you're seeing, and let me just touch on the thing of the 90s when. The mid 90s when No Doubt, and you started hearing those bands, Mighty Mighty Boss Tones, and Rancid comes out, and all this stuff is coming on the air. Bucko Night, Save Ferris, and all that. They're getting on the radio. What were some of the grumblings? Was there any grumblings or any talk from your scene about what was going on, and were any of those bands aspiring to be that, or were they just like, oh yeah, that's so and so's band? How were they? How did they feel about all that?
It was just like, hey, don't call that ska.
Okay. So there was a line was drawn in the sand.
Yeah, man, because they were calling ska, which was actually like ska punk, and it was like confusing because, like, dude, what is ska? Oh man, ska, if ska came from reggae, bro.
Yeah. No. Okay.
Ska
So
came from reggae. First it was reggae, and then came ska, right? Oh my god.
Yeah. Okay. So you had Steady Beat. What were some of the other labels at that time that were specializing in some form of ska? Okay. So, because first of all, before I discovered Steady Beat, it was Moon Ska, and then that was
Yeah.
it. Oh, and then it was Dill Records when it was Skink and Pickle, which was pretty much which was Asian Man or pre-Asian Man. So those are the only two, and then yours, and then Tang.
Up.
Okay.
Tang and Jump Up. You had Jump Up Records.
So Jump Up was back around that time
They
too.
started the same year I did.
Note to
They were
self.
going hand in hand with me in Chicago.
Okay, so wait, let's go down the list. So you had Moon, you had Asian Man Dill, you had Jump Up, you had Tang, which were some of those were doing more of a punk. Like Tang was doing
Yeah.
boss tones and stuff like that. But then
You
there
had
was who else?
Simmer Down. Are you familiar with Simmer Down?
No,
Out of
where
Seattle?
were they from? Oh, Seattle. Okay,
Seattle.
all right.
They did Bigfoot ska comps, and then All Girls Go Ska comp, and they did a couple records. Not very many.
Stubborn records.
Bro. Oh, Stubborn.
Yeah,
Stubborn records.
okay.
Yeah, Stubborn.
And
I'm
who
trying to
used to
think of the other ones.
who used to
There's
put
maybe a
out
Midwest
all
one,
those weird?
Jump
Who
Up.
used to put out all those weird like and it would have like Mark Fago Ska All Stars, and it would have always like these weird the Hot Knives and the Loafers, and it was like a lot of UK bands who put those.
That would be like Unicorn Records. Unicorn.
Okay.
Unicorn and what else? There's a couple other, but they're all based out of England
Yeah.
and Germany.
Yeah.
Or Germany and England out there. Yeah, they did.
King Hammond Shuffle.
King Hammond, it's shuffle. King Hammond, it's hustle. To the King Hammond Shuffle. Welcome to the House of Hammond.
They used to just re-release those ska compilations.
Grover Records. Grover Records out of Germany. Grover Records out of Germany, and then you had Liquidator out of Spain.
Okay.
Spain, and I'm trying to think anyone else. Yeah, but I know those comps that you're talking
Yeah.
about.
So they all had kind of like their established scenes kind of based that are branched out of the two-tone. They'd come after the two-tone thing. But back to the States. So you have your New York scene, with the Toasters, Bim Scala Bim, all those, and then you have on this side, you have the stuff that was that got on the radio and all that, and then you have your scene with
But you also had Stiff Dog Records.
Oh, yeah, Stiff Dog was out of Long Beach?
Well, yeah, down here somewhere.
Okay, yeah, okay. So they were kind of like, the Skunk Records? Does that count?
Skunk Records, yeah.
Okay.
They were out of Long Beach.
When ska starts kind of falling out of favor with people, and a lot of these, at the time when those big Steady Beat years of all those sold out shows, they were really young. But as we all know, you start getting a little bit older. Some of the kids start falling out. They start going in different ways. That was when I was a teenager and all that stuff. How do you keep it going? Because you can't be just doing these shows all the time, the same type of shows. You have to start kind of integrating some other sounds into the mix. What was going on?
Yeah, well, that kind of did happen, and it kind of progressed. Not because like I gotta look for bands, it's because there's more bands out there available. And I started doing like rock en español bands because Yeska had introduced a lot of the bands to me because they were playing with them because Yeska was kind of crossing over with a lot of those bands.
Yeah.
And then I was introduced to Jorge Leal. If you remember that guy?
There was some individuals of those things because I remember that rock en español scene it was so big around that same time because you had like LA bands like Maria Fatal and then
He worked with,
Pastilla.
those guys. We booked those bands because we do shows together because either I had access to a club and he's like, hey man, I got the bands. Okay, boom, let's put the show together. He documents all the rock en español stuff in and around LA during that period too. He has some site that does all that. I started incorporating a lot of that stuff, booking bands like that, different bands like that. But what happens is when you stop doing all age shows, all you're getting is people that are over 21 to your shows, right?
Yeah.
And you're not getting those younger kids that are like excited about the music as much as well, they're more excited than the older people about the music. It's something new to them.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens to them is when they see that, at some point they want to start their own band,
Okay.
you know? And then they'll start their own band. And then, oh, there's another band. And, oh, there's another band to book. And then other younger kids that come to their shows see that and they want to start a band. I'm telling you this because this is kind of what I saw happening through the 90s in LA. And then it kind of feeds itself. The all ages shows kind of feed themselves because younger kids come and see it. And then they want to be that guy up there. And then before you know it, there's more bands. And then before you know, you have like 18 bands.
Yeah.
Or 20 bands in the scene. And then you don't have, and then the cycle happens and you're not doing that anymore. And then everyone kind of is 21 now, and then you're not doing any younger shows. And what happens after that? The bands start dwindling down. The crowds start dwindling down, and you're not going to get as many people as you used to.
Did you ever think about just like, hey, I'm done with the ska thing? Maybe it was a phase for you, or were you like, I'm in this. This is my thing.
No, to me, it wasn't like a ska thing. It was a music thing. Music. It was all music, whether it was ska or not, because I wasn't going to say, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do that. I'm like, hey, man, it's all music and it all works. It just happens that I happen to fall doing ska music and working with ska musicians and reggae musicians, et cetera, et cetera,
And people always associate you with ska. I remember when we did the ska class reunion with, it was Lord Tanamo was supposed to show up and he never showed up. And Eric, I always kind of ask Eric about that. Well, do you ever find out whatever happened to Lord Tanamo? And he always says, he just never got on the plane, man. And we waited at the show. And I remember you got an award. You got an award, like some recognition, which was well deserved, even at that time.
Where is that award?
Yeah,
Where
I know. Did you never got an award? Did you get a plaque or a certificate?
I never got anything. Where'd it go?
Oh, Eric, if you're listening to it, I know you are listening.
Eric,
he's
where's
waiting.
my award? I miss it.
It was
significant without that award, man.
It was
I mean
C-Spot.
nothing without it.
Yeah, C-Spot and Mobtown and no Lord Tanamo. And so that was fun. And yeah, I mean, I think everybody has all the major players and all the figures that have really been into it. They're still around. I still talk to Eric all the time. He works for Golden Voice. Eric Kohler, he had Reggae Nucleus. I remember he showed up when we were recording No Dancing Please for Moonska in Silver Lake. Him and his old partner Edeno had showed up to kind of help document. Do you remember Reggae Nucleus? I'm sure you do, of course.
Oh yeah. I think on his second or third issue, he asked me to write a little article.
Yeah, of course.
And I did, and I was happy about it, and everything worked out fine.
Yeah, there was a lot of those great figures like you and Eric and I mean when you brought up Michael Sanchez, DJ Michael Sanchez, who when we left the Desmond Decker show to go play a show in Hollywood it was one of those Eddie Ayala. You remember Eddie? Did you ever meet Eddie Ayala back then? He was kind of like a Chicano activist art guy.
No, but
he was okay. So he was one of those cats, East LA, and it was like Patsy Valdez from that art group. Osco was there, and they had like the actor who was one of the dudes from Repo Man, and he was also in Born in East LA. We were just learning about all these things that we were just like, we're obviously not a part of, but when we would show up, just like when we started being associated with Steady Beat, we were always made to feel very welcome. We would go to East LA to do these bizarre late night shows. We'd like take the stage at like 2 a.m. And I remember looking up and we're done. And Michael Sanchez says, "Hey man, so I DJ at this club called Luna Park over there in West Hollywood. You guys want to play there?" I was like, yeah, whatever. You know, we're all loopy. It's 3 a.m. We have to drive back to Bakersfield. And sure enough, man, he ended up hooking us up over there. And then we started running into all the Steady Beat bands. We would run into Jump with Joey. We would play with Yeska. And then you just saw that kind of branch out into all different kinds of bands. But definitely to me, when you trace it back, it comes back to Steady Beat. So I just want to give you props for that, bro, because
thank you,
there's a whole other history there, which brings us to kind of partly to the present and a little bit of the future, because we can go another like 2 hours, but I don't want to keep it on the phone that long. But when a few years ago, when we started seeing the Indiegogo or the GoFundMe fundraising campaign for the ska Pick It Up in the 90s doc, I mean, a lot of us got excited because we were thinking, well, let's see what's going to happen here. Let's see what's going to happen with this documentary. And then they're just raising an insane amount of money. And then when it surpassed, I think, the original by like, I don't know, like 30 grand. I don't know. I'm probably over exaggerating. But when I saw that, we all got a little excited because we started getting a little nostalgic for our younger days. You start seeing the Fishbone, and you saw the trailer. You saw, there's the Hepcat guys. And then you're just waiting. You see some of these. Buck-09, of course, which we played with Buck-09, one of the shows that you booked us at Terasa Hamai, which is one of those classic shows. And all these bands that we crossed paths with. So we're waiting for the documentary to come out. It finally comes out. I watch it, and I'm just kind of like, where's Luis?
What?
Where's Luis? Where's Luis? Where's Luis? Where's Luis? And no Luis. Of course, it was Tazy, because Tazy is one of the godfathers, one of the gatekeepers of the OC ska scene. Love you, Tazy. I know you're probably listening, and he is still very active in being Tazy all the way, 100% ska boy. Ska rude boy, ska godfather. Okay, so I gave Tazy his props. However, where's Luis? Where's Steady Beat? Because a lot of those cats in those bands were Steady Beat bands. They were playing Steady Beat shows, and I didn't understand. And I remember I actually reached out through the Instagram of one of whoever, I don't know who, because you don't know who's answering these. I said, you might want to think about talking to Luis Correa from Steady Beat. And they're like, oh yeah, we should. I'm like, I don't know if they ever did, and they probably didn't, because it was apparent that there was a big chunk missing from the history of Southern California ska and how much more there was to that. So, and not to bash them for that, because it was very tight and it was very bright. We played with the Aquabats at the Las Palmas Theater when they had just barely debuted those suits that they had, and they weren't full on Aquabats as you saw them. You saw they had the shorts. I remember they ran out to Hollywood Boulevard and they bought a bunch of cargo shorts off the street, and they were still in the plastic. They came up, the keyboard player had an ironing board, and they were just, somebody worked for Body Glove. One of their family members worked for Body Glove, and so had started to design their shirts. And I remember this because I got one of those elephant memories, man. I never forget anything. So I remember we did it. Our old former guitar player at the time, T-Fish, Terrence, had to end up running sound for that. And I think it was a Tazy Phillips show. So, but it was the Skeletons. It was us. It was like, it was another one of these bands it was another Steady Beat band on the bill. And so I never understood why Steady Beat's history was completely just cut out from that, which was very disappointing to me. I mean, when you saw that documentary, how did it make you feel? Just be honest with me.
I didn't see it.
What?
I didn't see. I saw parts of it, but after a while, I didn't see the whole thing. I realized, they have a different perspective. If somebody who wasn't in the scene, they're telling it from their little fantasies, whatever, some different perspective that I am not familiar with, and that's it.
Okay. I won't get into that, because what I do want to talk about just a little bit, because I know it's something that's in production and a lot of us are really excited about it, is you have finally a Steady Beat documentary. Steady Beat music documentary is currently in production.
What are you talking about?
That's no secret.
What?
That's no secret.
What? Oh my God! What do you mean? There's a what? Dude,
hush.
Oh my God.
Hush. Okay, so how soon? Okay, so obviously the question people are saying, okay, when that starts getting announced, that the money's going to start being raised for that right after that documentary, were people saying, is it because you're pissed at that, or?
No. Here's how that came.
Break it down.
The whole thing came about is Kat and her boyfriend had started a production company, right?
Both of them very wonderful. I've met them both.
Yeah. And one day, I think it was at Jason's memorial. Jason's memorial.
Rest in peace.
We're hanging out. It was good to see people you hadn't seen in a long time. It's just too bad that has to be under those circumstances. And she was there, and we started chatting, and it came up that the documentary. I'm like, you know what? Someone should really say a real good story about the '90s ska documentary. She was like, you should do the Steady Beat story. I'm like, nah, it shouldn't be that. But I'm just saying, everyone in this room can tell you the story better than that documentary. and that's how that kind of started, the fire, and like, you know, he started guiding on it. I'm like, okay, yeah, you know, I think we could do this. Why not? Let's fucking tell a story. It wasn't like I'm pissed. I'm just like, you know what? Let's tell a fucking story because honestly,
God damn it, we're gonna do a goddamn documentary on Steady Beat.
no, bro. That's
I
not
know.
how I
I'm just
operate,
fucking with you.
me.
I'm just fucking with you.
I was just like, you know, someone should tell the story because you know what? That didn't do a good job, and it's like a big chunk of it. If you actually go and look at '90s ska, and that pops up, you're like, wait a minute, what about LA '90s ska? Where can I find more of this stuff? And you're not gonna see anything. Why? Because no one really knows what happened, because no one really has an insight into the story except people who were here.
Yeah. And you were doing the shows that you were talking about, because I know that there are some stories that are going to be told, and you can see them in the Steady Beat trailer. I think one of your early shows, you had it in a junkyard.
It was my dad's junkyard.
That's awesome.
It was a junkyard. It was crazy. That's a crazy story.
Well, who was the band? Who was in the band there? Because I know you're going to say, but I want you to tell me. So who was the bands that were on that show?
That show was the Israelites, Mobtown, and Ye Old English.
Ye Old English. Okay.
And I believe Ye Old English played, and then Mobtown was set up, and then we got raided.
In a junkyard?
Yeah.
The funny story about Ye Old English, we would bring a lot of those Steady Beat bands to play with us here in Bakersfield when we had some, Catch 22. Remember Catch 22 was a band?
Yeah.
Maybe Mobtown came to play, but we did bring Ye Old English way back then. And I remember, so it was Schreibe. They had the original Ye Old English band, came in, and I remember he was being so dirty on stage, but the band was so good. They played all that rock steady style so good. And I remember in the back of his head, he had a weed leaf shaved into the back of his head. So, and it was hilarious, man. And they did all the Prince Buster stuff. And then I remember, so right now we're going to do a couple tunes off the upcoming release of The Who's Tommy, Rocksteady and Ska. And so we're going to play, they did like I'm Free. And then I think they did Pinball Wizard and maybe a couple other ones. But then I believe you, and this is a little side note, didn't you release that? Because I have a copy and you're the one who gave that to me. Can I include that?
Yeah. Well, no, see, here's what I released. What I released was this. Okay. In November of 1992, well, actually, after that Junkyard show, Ray got a ticket and his girlfriend got a ticket, even though I told, hey, I'm in charge. They're like, gave them the tickets because she was holding the money and he was at the door. And then we went to court, pay the tickets. I paid her ticket. I'm like, I'll take care of it. And then Ray's like, I don't want to do any more shows. I said, nah, Ray, we got one more show to do, and we're going to do it in your house. He goes, my house is in Compton. I said, I know. That's why we're going to do it in Compton. No one's in. It's not. If you can only show up if you know the band. Otherwise, forget it. He's like, I said, listen, I'll take the heat for it. I'll be out there. I'll charge. I'll be the guy at the door. Don't worry about it. Boom. All right, so we did it. Cops did go by, but we recorded it. I recorded that night. I recorded that whole show that night. And the band was on point, right? Yeah. It was. They had horns and everything. They have horns when they played up there?
Oh, yeah. They had the full band. Yeah. They had the guy who was like the toaster guy, the little short guy who was ended up being Double D Nose later. I mean, there's kind of like an evolution of that group of musicians, but yes.
Yeah, Double D Nose.
Well, it was like them, and then it was Ocean's 11, and then there's the Double D Nose, so they were all kind of intertwined, right? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so then that night we recorded them, and like et cetera, et cetera. So again, that was 1992. Those recordings are on the compilation volume 1, along with the ones from Orange Street talking about, hey, do you have that?
Oh yeah, of course I do. Of course I do. Okay, and let me tell you a funny story about that. Dennis Ham El Hamon, our old keyboard player, our former keyboard player, who was with us at those early Steady Beat shows for all those years, and is now like touring with Thundercat.
I saw him with Thundercat at what Lollapalooza? No, what was that other place?
It was one of
Coachella.
no, he's blowing up, man. He toured with Larry Carlton. He's played with a lot of cats. So he's doing really well. But I remember he called me up is when he was living in town. His dad's a teacher, and he was still really young when he was playing with Mento. And he goes, "Hey Matt, did remember those tapes that Luis gave you? Have you listened to them yet?" And I was like, No, not yet. He's all, "Well, I'm playing the tape and I'm having dinner with my parents, and then I start listening really closely, and I'm like, what's this guy saying? I could have swore he said schlong and dong." And I went over there, I listened closely, and it's like, this sounds like it's like in your mom, and my dick's in your mom. And I was like, oh shit, I gotta turn this off before my parents. He's like, my parents had no idea that they were listening to like one of the most dirtiest songs they probably ever heard in their life, because they're very church-going people.
I first met your mama many moons ago. Passover Seder, she was jocking to blow. Grabbed my butt, but I was much too young. I said, "Hold on, lady," as she inserted her tongue. Grabbed my head, took it to her breast. Unzipped my pants on a sausage quest. Grappled on to my long dong schlong. Her mouth was full, so I sang this song. In your mom tonight.
Yeah, and it was like, he's all, and so every time I remember after that, he's all long dong schlong, going with something about the long dong schlong song. We're gonna do that song.
That one's called In Your Mom Tonight.
Exactly. Yes, that's the song.
That's the name of that
Okay,
song.
so
Yeah.
the infamous Dennis Ham playing the song with his mom, and now he's playing with Thundercat. There you go.
Wow.
That's the connection.
Crazy. Insane.
So you had all those. You have, I mean, what is your library like of all these kind of rare recordings, unreleased?
Well, right now I'm looking at a box of tapes.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, okay, actually, you're on here. You're in here too, bro.
Oh, yeah.
Mental
no.
Guru live tape. I think somewhere there's a Yeska, Alligator Lounge, Allenton, Mobtown, Soul Fools, Checkmate, Mars Villa, Mental Guru at Secret Cajun Band. Remember you played with them?
Oh, yeah. I love those names, man.
Let's see, the Debonaires, Real Big Fish, C Spot, Dynamics. Yeah, there's a bunch of shit here. Blue Beat Stompers. Oh, there's a bunch of stuff here that Allenton Slackers at Leonardo's. Oh.
Yeah. Okay. You know what? Let me bounce back. Let me just go back, trace back to some of those early times. So when the ska thing's happening now, Epitaph does Hellcat, which is like they're releasing. They give them the Boots compilation. You have the Ska Lights, Voodoo Glow Skulls, and all that stuff. Were you ever approached about any of that, or was it strictly like Hellcat, Tim Armstrong, Brett Gurwitz, that whole thing? They were just kind of completely on their own thing. And did you ever have any contact with any of those guys?
Yeah, I met with Tim Armstrong. I met with him. I met him at a whiskey show. He was at a whiskey show. We met, exchanged numbers, but we were doing different things. Just one of those things.
Yeah, I was always just curious to see if any of those scenes kind of would cross over. Because I mean, the Tim Armstrong, the Operation Ivy, that whole connection. But there was just kind of like the way that ska in the 90s, Doc, with the exception of Hepcat being included, that was kind of like the epitome to me of like the orange curtain that they used to talk about when you got in Orange County.
Of course.
Click, it was off. And so unless you were part of that scene, you were not going any further than that. And I mean, there was great bands, and I saw those bands that were part of that scene, but it seems like it was definitely territorial. And so that kind of like that ska in the 90s, kind of like that was it. That was, if you ever want to know what what was behind the orange curtain, that's it right there. And not to say anything bad about the bands, but it was like the gatekeepers of the scene. It was like that was it. And so when do you think the Steady Beat documentary, I know we just talked about it right now, but what's the progress looking like right now? Well, listen, hold on. Listeners, full disclosure, my band is part of the documentary, of course, because we were part of the early steady beat scene. And we've, we haven't done any interviews for it, but I remember at the beginning of the early production days, months, the COVID pandemic happened and then just shut everything down. Shut down fundraising, all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, we're slated to start filming in February.
Mm-hmm.
And COVID hit hard and everything was shutting down when we were scheduling everything. So, and then some people started getting sick. So we decided to shut it down and reschedule for April. So all the filming is going to start resume in April. And it's only maybe about 3 weeks of filming. And then after that, it's just, start editing and put it together. Hopefully we have something to look at by the end of this year.
Yeah, God, there's got to be so much really good footage. I don't want to give away too much, but if people wanted to get involved, I mean, how's the fundraiser? Are you still needing any crowdfunding stuff? Yeah, tell us.
Indiegogo. They can go there and just go a steady beat film, and go donate. And there's also, I think there's still some perks, or you can actually buy some merchandise off the site.
Yeah. No, I
think that's what you can do.
Really excited about that, yeah, and I'll be posting up that stuff on all the Bakotunes socials to get people involved, because you should want to know about this story. It isn't all what you thought you knew. There is an entire really, really cool story, and when you talk about people wanting to keep those the indie flames alive, that whole steady beat era, looking back on it now, it was indie, because you just had to be there. This was pre-internet. So it was just all about the fans and the music. And regardless of how big the majors had kind of swallowed up all the best bands and kind of drove them to different, kind of reshape their sound and kind of took away what they the original sounds that they'd had that we grew to love when they were independent bands, and changed them. They get affected by the major labels and all that stuff. The steady beat scene stayed true to it. So you can go back and you can listen to those steady beat recordings, and they still have that same sabor, that same scabor to them, because there's no overproduction to them. They sound like they were recorded in a small studio in East LA, in San Pedro, in Wilmington, in Bakersfield, and they just have nothing but that, that honest, humble, from the heart love, brother. You know what I mean, right?
Yep.
Okay, so let's talk about real quick before we get going. So you actually have a Steady Beat record store now, and where is that located?
Yeah, that store is located in San Pedro, right off of Gaffey Street. I mean, you get off the freeway, the 110, head on south, and then bam, on 16th and Gaffey, it's there. Opened in September, and you can find all Steady Beat releases there, all of them, except for the ones that are out of print. Sorry about that.
and you also, but what about your website? What's your website?
The store site is steadybeatrecords.com, and you'll find some Steady Beat releases, but not all of them. That site is mostly for the stuff from the store. And then on steadybeat.com, that's where you'll find all the new releases and merchandise and all kinds of stuff. And, even MP3s probably.
Has the interest intensified? Little pun intended, little ska reference there. Since you've kind of jumped back into it with the news about the documentary and the record store, has interest kind of raised not only in Southern California but kind of internationally to kind of get those Steady Beat releases? Yeah,
there is. Now that it's a brick and mortar, there is a little more interest in different people, because now it's a place. So yeah, and yeah, there's actually definitely more awareness, if you will.
Yeah.
Of what I'm doing now.
Yeah,
and that's good.
Oh yeah, definitely. And what does Steady Beat have coming up recording wise? I know there's some news, and I don't know if I'm supposed to speak about it, but if you want to, you can go ahead.
Right now, we have a new release coming out by Smoke and Mirrors Sound System, and that is like I'm gonna say it's all-star band. It's an all-star band put together by John Roy out of San Diego.
Yes.
Unsteady headmaster.
Yes.
Unsteady. He put together this thing called Smoke and Mirror Sound System, which is a lot of different guys and for different songs, and he has different players on both different sides of the record. One song is Nadie Te Lo Hizo, and the B-side is a crazy version, nice kind of reggae vibey version of El Día de Mi Suerte, with Carlos Paez of B-Side Players out of San Diego singing the lead, which he has that perfect tone in his voice for that song.
Yeah. Oh, I love John Roy. John Roy is like one of the best people ever, man. And yeah, that Smoke and Mirrors project has gotten a lot of attention when you think about it, because where they're based in San Diego, when they start tapping into doing Latin sounds, it's going to be the fucking bomb, because he's right there by the border, man. And he's always been true to the sound, to the style. He's just a great guy. He knows some of the musicians that work with him they're all going to be good, because John Roy has one of those reputations that his productions are going to be good. He's going to come up with these cool projects. He's learned how to straddle through the traditional stuff to the Latin stuff to the third wave punkish stuff for all that San Diego scene. But Unsteady, definitely one of the most underrated bands from that third wave era. You know, it's because they didn't belong in that kind of crazy, kooky, wacky third wave thing. They were a steady beat band to me, man. They were vibing into that jazz ska thing. But you know, hats off to John Roy, and hats off to you, brother. You know, I'm proud of you, man.
You.
Glad that you're still making it happen, man. And thanks for being such a good friend all these years. And man, we've never lost touch. You know, it's been like a couple years or a year has gone by. And I remember when I was trying to move to Los Angeles, you were actually trying to help me get some employment over there. You tried your best, and I never forget that, brother. You probably don't remember, but I remember. It was some interesting job prospects, but you know, I was like, hey, that's what brothers do. And so for that, Luis, I do appreciate. And so everybody listening right now, go to steadybeat.com. If you're in the San Pedro area, put in for Steady Beat Records, put in a search for it. You'll go out there, follow Luis on all his socials. What are your socials?
It's Steady Beat Recordings on Instagram, and Steady Beat Recordings on Facebook, and Steady Beat Records, steady.beat records for the store on Instagram as well. And you can follow me, King Steady Beat. That's, you know, keep up with whatever I'm doing.
You do a lot of DJ gigs, right?
DJing,
Tell me about that really quick before we go.
Oh, well, every Tuesday I'm at Mescalero in downtown Long Beach. I do the Taco Tuesdays there. Every second Saturday of the month, I'm at the Cicada in downtown LA. It's that Art Deco 20s, very upscale club. And they do something called Mambo Craze Cabaret, where I supply the mambo music, and then there's cabaret dancers.
And they recreate the whole Palladium Mambo thing, right? It's kind of burlesque.
Yes, that's what I do. I supply the music for all of that. So
fantastic,
it's a good vibe, and that's every second Saturday, and then every second Sunday of the month, I'm over at the Bamboo Club in Long Beach. That's the tiki bar there, and that's about it. I mean, you catch me at other different places wherever I may be popping up. So
you could stalk him at the record store and just ask him, where are you at this time?
Exactly.
Right on, brother. Well, I wish you continued success. It's great to hear you doing so well. You know, we've both been in this game for a long time, and hey, man, the OGs are keeping it real today in 2022. We're keeping it strong. So I thank you, brother. Thanks for being on the Bakotunes podcast.
Thank you, Matt, and thank everyone for listening.
Thank you, Luis Correa and Steady Beat, once again for being on the Bakotunes podcast. Hopefully, we've helped clear the ska air, and you enjoyed our time together. Now, since you made it this far, I'll leave you with a rare bonus naughty musical treat from LA's very own Ye Old English. Here's Blow on the Bakotunes podcast. Peace.
I
the Bakotunes podcast with Matt Munoz. New episodes every week. And for the latest, be sure to follow us at Bakotunes on Instagram and Twitter. That's BAKOTUNES. And be sure to like us, rate us, comment at us, and don't forget to subscribe. We'll be back next time.